Essentially, if you just do a Google search for Mustang steering rack limiters, this is what you're going to buy. It's the same diameter as the S2000 steering rack. I believe the description for these parts is like a 1974 or something to a 1990, early 2000s Mustang steering rack limiters. I don't know why they're so popular for the Mustangs. Maybe they have tire issues more than the S2000 for sure, but these work perfect. I got 6 in a kit. I only think I'm going to need to put 1 on each side, but I'm going to put 1 at a time on each side and then do full lock limiting on the steering and show you guys the tire clearance underneath the car. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys here the steering rotation limits of a factory rack on an AP1. An AP2 has a slower ratio, so you might be able to turn the wheel more revolutions than an AP1 because they softened those down for the American crowd, a daily driver. So if you have an AP1, which is a purebred race car, you're going to see that if you turn it 1 revolution, you have 1 full turn there, and then if you go all the way, you can get about another 90 degrees out of it before full lock. So let's say 1 1/4 turns, full rotation on the stock rack. So I'm going to go back to center, and I have 1 spacer installed when you turn left now to limit the travel. So let's see how much that did to limit the steering travel. I estimated I'm going to need to get it down to about 1 full rotation, so I'm going to take a 1/4 turn away from it. So that is 1 right there, 1 full, a little over 1, but this should be able to go to straight 90 right now if there was no spacer. And as I turn, you can see that's about my limit right there. So it took about 45 degrees off. So what that tells me is in order to get down to only 1 full turn, I'm going to have to put 2 spacers in each side, and then that would make the lock happen at 1 full turn there. So the ones I got happen to be a 1/4 inch thick, therefore putting 2 on each side will limit the linear travel of the rack a 1/2 inch. Seems like a lot, but the last like 1/4 turn of an S2000's turning radius I've never used on the track or in autocross. It may only affect you when you're doing like a U-turn or something in a city street or something. Alright, so underneath the car, it's a little tricky. If you take off this shield, it'd be 10 times easier to get to the boot clasp. I'm a little lazy. I just took 1 button out back here and I'm kind of deflecting it with my hand. Alright, so the clasp for the steering rack is back there. And what I did was I just got like a little flathead screwdriver in the clasp, the eye part, kind of pried it apart a little bit so the clasp was a little loose, but it didn't come unlatched. So with that, I can slide the boot off without even undoing the clamp. I might actually even be able to reuse the clamp because I didn't damage it much. You just need a special pair of pinch pliers to squish that ear back to create a seal. But basically, if I rotate this, I can pop the boot off. And once you pop the boot off, that's what you slide your spacer on. You don't got to worry about putting it all the way at the end, even though there is mine. As you can see, there's the first one I installed, and it sits at the end against the stop and just adds extra space to the stop. Really, that's all there is to it. So you just go ahead and clip this over that, and then put the boot back on, and that's it. All right, so with 2 spacers in there. This is the wheel at full lock to the right. Just get an idea of how much it's turned. Still turned pretty significant. I'll go underneath the car and show you the clearance now with the tire. As you can see here, got about, say maybe a 1/2 inch now. It makes me a lot more comfortable than the 1/8 inch before, because when I set this car on the ground, the suspension is going to compress, and this tire is going to get closer to that hose because the center line of the tire right now is below the brake hose. So once I raise it up, it's going to be more even with the brake hose and it's going to get closer. So I think I'll be around a 1/4 inch once I lower the car. But that's my clearance right now. And just as I was hoping for, the wheel is perfectly centered at 1 full rotation for wheel lock. So you'll see if I go back to center here, that's pointing straight ahead. So you can see we're pointing straight ahead now. And then turning hard to the left with a 1/2 inch total of spacer in there. You hit your lock right there, 1 full turn. That's right where I want it to be, got me the clearance I needed, and it's super easy to install the limiters.